In this tutorial, I am going to show you how to wood burn a pine tree. This is for any skill level and is super fun to do. I am using the Walnut Hollow Versatool with the universal tip. I recommend this wood burner to all beginners and really anyone interested in wood burning because it's a great tool to learn on. I've had this burner since 2015 and it's still kicking. I will be using high heat for this tutorial to create dark lines, but this will vary for you depending on which burner you have and what wood you're burning on. I am burning on a coaster-sized piece of sanded aspen wood for this tutorial. Please be safe while wood burning and check out my links in the description box for wood burning safety tips and tricks. Let's get started. Now it is time to start our wood burning. First, I'm going to grab my scrap piece of wood and test my wood burner is fully warmed and ready to go. To start, we are going to draw a line down the center of the wood. This will be our main guide for the tree. I'm applying heavy pressure as I go straight down the center. I'm also letting the tip guide me and not worrying too much if it's a perfect line. Then I'm going to thicken the center line just by shading along that guide we just created. We will thicken this line even more later on, so don't worry too much about how thick or thin it is. This is just our guideline, but I do want it a little bit bolder before we start on our branches. After that, go to the top of the line and make a few small curved lines to start our tree. We will fill this in more later, so don't worry about details, but this just gives us another head start on shaping our tree. I'm applying heavy pressure and making the top point of the tree a bit bolder and sharper. Now for the branches, you are going to draw curved lines coming out from the center line. Make some of the ends curved up and some of them curved down for variation. You want some variation along the branch lines. You do not want them to be all the same. The more variation, the better it's going to look in the end. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, but not copy the lines exactly, as I want them to vary as well. It's not going to be a symmetrical tree, and that's okay. So to repeat, I'm burning curved lines where some are more curved down and some are more curved upwards. I'm not going to bring these lines all the way down as I do want some of my trunk to show, so I think this is good for our basic guideline as of right now. Next, I'm going to go back to the top of the tree and fill it in with some smaller strokes just to kind of fill in that section a bit more. Now we are going to start filling in the branches more. Starting from those curved lines we already burned, you're going to want to burn more downward lines from the branches and repeat this for all the curved branch lines we already drew. Make sure the curved downward branch lines vary in lengths to make it more interesting and realistic. I am using heavy pressure to do this to create nice bold lines. Continue doing this for all the lines and fill in where you think looks best. Don't worry, our tree will be filled in with more branches later, so just work on adding the lines to our existing branches. Take note of my lines to see the varying lengths. I'm not worrying too much about perfectionism right now. This will all come together shortly. Now that we have completed those branches, feel free to add a couple short lines at the bottom if it makes sense for your tree. All of ours will look different, but I always like to add some small short lines at the bottom for a tapered effect. Now, if you have some large gaps like I do in my tree, go in and start that process all over again. Draw varying curved lines out from the center and then fill in the branches. Still use heavy pressure for bold lines. One thing I want to mention is when I wood burn my trees, I always like to keep the top and bottom sections filled with shorter branches and leave the longer ones for the middle section. This, of course, is personal preference, but I just want to make note here as I start to fill in my tree more. Okay, our tree is actually starting to look like a tree, but we are going to add a little bit more detail to make it really come to life. Now I am going to use light pressure and create short, quick, wispy lines on the tree. Following the same curvy lines we did before for the branch effect, do this by quickly moving your wood burning pen to create light strokes. I am going to do this over the entire tree. This will give our tree some depth with varying darker and lighter lines. As you can see, this technique results in lighter, wispier lines. Keep doing this until you are pleased with it. After this, we're going to go back in and fill in with darker lines, so add whatever light lines you want to now. One tip I like to tell people is to pick up your wood burning to look at it face on throughout this process. It's helpful to see it from a different angle, and it can help you determine if you need to add any more detail. Okay, now that I'm finished with the light lines, I'm going to go in and basically finish the tree. So I look at the tree and see where it needs some darker lines, and I'll just go in with my wood burner and make some more curved lines throughout it. This is also the time where if you think your trunk needs to be thicker, you can go in and add a thicker trunk. So I'm just adding more darker lines to really make the tree stand out. At this point, it's basically creative freedom with the steps we did before. Whatever your tree needs, go ahead and add that now. And here's the finished piece. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and it inspired you to create. All of our trees will look different and there is no right or wrong to do this. In the description box below, I have my blog links where I post lots of wood burning art, tutorials, and resources, along with my shop link where I sell my original wood burning art and lots more. So thank you so much for watching. See you next time.